Have you ever felt like, despite all your effort, nothing really seems to work out? You stress, overthink, and try so hard to control everything. Yet the more you chase after perfection, the more it slips away, just out of reach. The tighter your grip, the faster it fades. It's not just some poetic idea. It's a truth rooted in Buddhist philosophy. In a world where we're constantly seeking validation, approval, and the illusion of control, what if the real path to peace is found in simply letting go? Take a moment and ask yourself, how much of your suffering have you created by holding on so tightly? This isn't about being indifferent or uncaring. It's about setting yourself free from the chains of your own expectations. What you're about to hear might change the way you look at everything. Because when you finally let go, when you stop fighting, life has a way of falling into place naturally. The issue isn't the world around you. It's the pressure you put on yourself. Here's the key. Once you release that pressure, everything starts to align. If there's one lesson you take from this, let it be this. And trust me, stay until the end. There's a powerful insight waiting for you that could shift your entire perspective. Lesson 1. The illusion of productive worry. Worry often wears the mask of productivity. It feels necessary, like it's keeping you on track. But in reality, it does nothing but drain your energy. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by stress, you know exactly what I mean. Maybe it's been a constant companion, convincing you that if you just care a little more, do a little more, you'll finally be in control. But what if I told you that your endless worrying isn't helping you? It's only weighing you down. Picture a rocking chair. It moves back and forth, creating the illusion of progress. But you're not actually going anywhere. That's what worry does to your mind. It keeps you occupied, but it doesn't move you forward. It fills your mind with noise, tricks you into thinking you're in control, when deep down, you know you're not. And that's where the real suffering begins. In Buddhist teachings, suffering doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. We attach ourselves to outcomes, to people's opinions, and to expectations we don't even own. That tightness in your chest, that constant replay of what ifs, it's not responsibility, it's attachment. It's the illusion that you need to fix everything, to control the uncontrollable. So, let me ask you, how much of your stress comes from trying to meet someone else's expectations? How much of your anxiety is rooted in something that's not even your responsibility? If the answer is a lot, you're not alone. Buddha's teachings on detachment weren't meant to make us indifferent. They were meant to set us free. When we stop clinging, worrying, and obsessing, we stop reacting and start responding. We act instead of overthinking. And that shift happens through presence. Take a deep breath. Feel the earth beneath you. Focus on this moment, not the endless parade of possible outcomes. You see, worry convinces you that you're preparing for the worst. But most of the time, you're just stuck in the past or anxiously rehearsing future pain. You think you're planning, but really, you're just recycling fear. Now imagine if instead of asking yourself what could go wrong, you asked, what can I do right now? And if there's nothing to do, maybe the wisest choice is to let go. There's an ancient story about a man holding onto a branch, dangling over a cliff. He's terrified, yelling for help. Then, he hears a voice. Let go. He fights it, but eventually, exhausted, he releases the branch, only to discover that the ground was only a few inches below him all along. Sometimes, that's how life works. When you stop clinging to fear, when you stop overthinking, you often find that you're already exactly where you need to be. So let me ask you, what are you holding on to that's no longer serving you? What would it look like if you trusted that things would unfold as they should? The truth is simple but powerful. When you stop caring about the wrong things, you create space for the right things to enter. You begin to show up lighter, freer, and more alive. Letting go isn't a sign of weakness. It's the wisdom that comes with trusting life. Build a strong, disciplined mind, but let your thoughts remain calm and your heart untangled. Because when you stop clinging to what you can't control, everything starts to align. Focus on today. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is just a dream. The only moment you truly have is now. Lesson 2. Lighten your load by letting go. For years, you've been carrying it. The weight that's so familiar, you hardly even notice it anymore. The pressure to be perfect. The fear of disappointing others. The constant urge to control every single outcome. It sits on your shoulders, invisible yet heavy, a burden that pulls you down bit by bit. And one day, you look up and wonder why you're so exhausted, even though nothing's gone wrong. Letting go isn't just about moving on from something. It's about realizing how much weight you've been carrying and making the choice to set it down. In Buddhism, to let go doesn't mean you abandon or forget. It simply means you stop fighting with what is. We suffer, not because of what life throws at us, but because we insist on controlling everything, on forcing life into our narrow, imagined version of how it should be. Life isn't meant to be clutched like a fist around something tight. It's meant to be held gently, like water, with care, with openness, but without force. Think about how often you've caught yourself replaying a conversation over and over, wishing you'd said something different, or how much energy you've spent obsessing over someone else's opinion, a missed opportunity, or a future that's still miles away. That's not progress. It's a trap, and it's a trap that silently steals your peace, one thought at a time. Ask yourself this: what are you holding on to that's really just holding you back? There's a story of a monk who carries a heavy sack of rice. A fellow monk asks, "Why don't you put it down?" The first monk replies, "I forgot it was still there." That's what we do. We carry around old pains, outdated beliefs, and burdens that no longer serve us, without even realizing it. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough about your own peace to release what you can't control. When you surrender the illusion of control, something powerful happens. You make space for presence, clarity, and breath. Life doesn't get easier, but by letting go of the extra weight, it gets lighter. When you let go of judgment, you can finally see yourself for who you really are, not for who you think you should be. Letting go of expectations frees your relationships from resentment. Letting go of fear opens the door for flow, not friction. So here's a simple challenge. Can you loosen your grip just for today? Can you stop chasing the future or clinging to the past and simply be with what is, without resistance? The Buddha said, "You only lose what you cling to." Maybe peace isn't something you have to go out and find. Maybe it's something that emerges naturally when you clear away everything that blocks it. This isn't about giving up. It's about waking up. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just notice. Just breathe. Let things be. Letting go isn't losing something. It's freeing your soul. When you stop carrying the weight of everything you can't control, everything falls into place. Peace doesn't live in holding on. It lives in the quiet courage to release. Lesson 3. Breaking the fear loop. Fear sneaks in quietly. It starts with a thought, a doubt, a simple "what if?" And before you know it, you're caught. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and you find yourself trapped in a mental loop that repeats the same fearful story over and over again. Think of fear like a fire. The more fuel you give it, the bigger it grows. But what if you simply stopped feeding it? What if, instead of adding more fear, you let it burn out on its own? Buddhist wisdom tells us that fear itself isn't the problem. It's the attachment to fear, the stories we weave around it, that causes the suffering. Fear says, "You're not ready." It whispers, "You'll fail." But these are just stories, not truth. They're echoes of past experiences, imagined futures, and false beliefs. And the more you engage with them, the more they grow. Fear thrives on attention. The key to breaking free? Stop feeding it. Pay attention when the cycle starts. A fearful thought pops up. Your heart races. Your mind begins to panic. Then you get stuck replaying worst-case scenarios, imagining disasters that haven't happened. But here's the thing. Nothing has actually occurred. It's all happening in your mind. A loop you've been through countless times before. You can break that loop. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Don't engage with the fear. Don't try to fight it or argue with it. Just watch it, like you'd watch a cloud drift across the sky or a leaf float down a stream. Don't try to control it. Just don't attach to it. Because when you attach to fear, you become it. Think about how many times you've allowed fear to take the wheel. How many dreams have you pushed aside? How many boundaries have you crossed out of fear? How many truths have you silenced just to avoid discomfort? Ask yourself, how often are you feeding your fear with your attention? There's a story of a young monk who sat in meditation one day and saw fear approach like a shadowy figure. At first, he trembled with dread. But then, instead of running, he welcomed fear to sit with him. "I see you," he said. "You can sit here, but you don't get to speak." And as he did this, fear faded, powerless against his awareness. This is the power of mindfulness. It disrupts the cycle. It reminds you that you're not your thoughts. You are the space in which those thoughts come and go. When fear arises, don't resist it. Label it. "Ah, here's fear." And then, return to your breath. Return to the present. Fear can't survive in the present moment. It only exists in your mind, in your imagination. So, what would happen if you just observed it instead of wrestling with it? You'd realize that most of your fear isn't real. It's just a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming free. When you stop feeding fear, you make room for peace. Fear loses its power when you stop letting it guide you. You are not the storm that rages. You are the sky that watches it pass by. There's nothing to fear, only understanding to gain. Lesson 4. The illusion of problems. Most of the challenges you face aren't really happening in the world around you. They're happening inside your mind. A message left unanswered. A moment of silence in a conversation. A look that seemed off. And just like that, your mind grabs onto that fleeting moment, stretches it, and turns it into a full-blown story. A story of conflict, rejection, or failure. But here's the reality. The mind is a storyteller, not a mirror of the world. And much of what you fear is just a narrative your thoughts have created, without any solid proof. In Buddhism, it's taught that suffering doesn't arise from the events themselves. It stems from how the mind interprets those events. Think about it. You receive an unexpected email, and suddenly your mind creates a dozen potential scenarios. What if they're angry? What if I made a mistake? What if I'm not enough? It's not the event itself. It's the avalanche of thoughts that follow. Your mind builds a mountain. Your heart has to climb it. How often do we get stuck in this mental spiral, believing it's real, when in truth, it's only thought? Ask yourself, what is actually wrong right now in this very moment? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, just right now. Feel your breath. Wiggle your fingers. Look around the room. More often than not, in this exact moment, you're safe. Yet, your thoughts have transported you to some imagined place. A place that feels threatening. A place full of weight and heaviness. The more you believe these thoughts without questioning them, the deeper you sink into a world that doesn't even exist. It's like being in a dream that feels real until you wake up. Fear, anxiety, judgment, they're all mental projections. The only way out is to wake up. Come back to your breath. Come back to your body. Come back to now. Because life is happening now. Peace starts now. The present moment is simple. The mind, however, complicates it. How many times has your mind turned something small into a disaster, only for you to realize later it was never a problem in the first place? That's the power of the mind. It creates entire worlds from assumptions. But just because a thought feels true doesn't mean it is. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every story should be given center stage. Imagine yourself sitting in a movie theater, watching an intense dramatic film. Suddenly, you remember, you're not in the movie. You're just watching it unfold on the screen. That's how you need to treat your thoughts. Don't get caught up in the drama. Be the observer, not the character. Ask yourself, are you living in a mental simulation? Are you mistaking your thoughts for reality? If the answer is yes, then pause. Feel your feet on the floor. Listen to the sounds around you. Anchor yourself to what's real. Because most of the problems you face are just thoughts disguised as reality. You don't need to solve what doesn't exist. You only need to see it for what it truly is. True peace begins when you stop reacting to the movie playing in your mind. Your thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. You are the sky, vast, open, and free. The mind creates the abyss, but your heart crosses it. Lesson number 5. When you pause, the mind calms down. Life moves at such a fast pace. Your thoughts, your reactions, your schedule, and even your constant scrolling. With everything happening so quickly, it's no wonder you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or lost. But here's the truth. Your mind isn't tired from thinking too much. It's tired from never getting a break. Think about a glass of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, the water remains cloudy. But if you let it sit still for a while, the dirt slowly sinks to the bottom and clarity returns. Your mind is much like that glass of water. It doesn't need to be fixed. It needs stillness. In Buddhism, there's a profound teaching that wisdom doesn't arise from constant noise or reaction. It emerges in the quiet moments, in the pause. When you take a moment to stop, even for just a second, the constant stream of thoughts begins to lose its grip on you. The storm of what-ifs, fears, and judgments starts to settle. One deep breath is all it takes to shift your mental weather. It's subtle, quiet, but it's incredibly transformative. Stillness is where clarity waits for you. How often do you find yourself reacting before even thinking? Someone says something that triggers you, and you snap back. A thought pops into your head, and you spiral into a cycle of worry. A notification buzzes, and you're immediately chasing it. But what if, instead of jumping into that automatic reaction, you paused for just a moment? Just one breath, just 1 second of stillness. That pause is powerful. It breaks the cycle. It brings you back to the present. In that moment, you can choose to respond rather than simply react. Stillness isn't something you do when you've got no other choice. It should become a habit. Try walking without your phone in your hand, eating without distraction, or sitting without rushing through your thoughts. Not because it's trendy, but because your mind craves that space. Stillness is not inactivity. It's actually the most conscious action you can take. It's a choice. I choose to be here. I am not controlled by the endless chatter in my mind. When was the last time you truly paused? We often believe that productivity comes from doing more, from being constantly busy. But the real power lies in doing less, but doing it with intention. There's a saying from a monk that goes, if you're too busy to sit quietly for 10 minutes a day, you should sit for an hour. When life feels frantic and overwhelming, that's when your soul needs silence the most. Stillness doesn't mean you have to remove all sound or distractions around you. It means you stop identifying with the noise inside your mind. You become the observer, not the participant. Think of your thoughts like clouds floating across the sky. You don't need to grab them or hold on to them. You simply watch them pass by. Your thoughts are visitors, not permanent truths. In this stillness, you reconnect with something deeper. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. So take a moment right now. Pause. Breathe deeply and mindfully. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. It's a simple act, but it's not small. It's sacred. In this pause, you come back to yourself. And from that place of stillness, life starts to fall into place. Not because you forced anything, but because you finally stopped standing in your own way. Stillness is not an escape. It's alignment. When you pause, the chaos around you stops echoing inside of you. And in the silence of your mind, the noise of worry fades away. Lesson 6. Why peace is a daily practice, not a lucky accident. Peace isn't something you happen upon by chance. It doesn't just fall from the sky or appear when life finally decides to calm down. Because let's face it, life rarely does calm down. There will always be noise, chaos, deadlines, and emotions swirling around. But here's the truth. Even in the midst of all that, peace can still thrive. But it doesn't just happen by accident. It's something you have to build. Think of peace as a garden. You don't plant it once and forget about it. You have to nurture it every single day. You water it, clear away the weeds, and protect it from storms. That's how peace grows and stays with you, with daily attention. In Buddhism, peace isn't something you search for outside yourself. It's something you become. One of the most profound teachings is, do not seek peace, be peace. It hits deep because it reminds us that peace isn't found in the world around us. It's cultivated within us. Every time you breathe with awareness, every moment you resist the urge to react, every time you pause before responding, those are acts of peace. Each one is like a drop of water nourishing your inner garden. Many people treat peace as if it's a luxury, something to seek only when they're completely burnt out. But what if peace were part of your daily rhythm? Not some grand ritual, but a simple practice. 5 minutes of silence before checking your phone, a few deep breaths before bed, a walk without distractions, or a moment of gratitude after a stressful day. These aren't just nice-to-haves, they're lifelines. So ask yourself, what have you done today to feed your peace? Not your ambitions, not your obligations, but your inner peace. If the answer is nothing, it's not because you're broken. You're simply disconnected from your source, but you can reconnect slowly and deliberately. Don't wait for the world to quiet down. Instead, start building that quiet within yourself. Peace is a habit, and like any habit, it grows with consistency, not perfection. You don't need an hour of meditation. You need 5 minutes every day, done with intention. Because those small actions, repeated consistently, will eventually create massive results. Peace compounds like interest. It starts small, but over time, it becomes transformative. You might say, but I'm too anxious, or my mind won't sit still. That's okay. You don't practice peace because you already feel calm. You practice it because you're not. The anxious mind isn't a barrier to peace. It's the very reason you need it. Peace isn't the absence of thoughts. It's the space around them. The ability to observe the storm inside without becoming it. The world will offer you endless distractions, most of them loud, urgent, and draining. But when you stop chasing every external validation, when you stop trying to control everything, something beautiful happens. Peace starts to rise naturally. Not because life got easier, but because you got anchored. Create your own peace ritual. 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. Let it be your sacred space, not to escape from life, but to meet it with strength, stillness, and softness. Peace isn't an accident. It's a decision you make every day. Don't wait for peace to find you. Start acting peacefully. Do not seek peace. Be peace. Lesson 7. Why you don't need to have all the answers. We've been conditioned to believe that certainty equals security, that if we just gather enough answers, make enough plans, and solve every question, life will finally make sense. But the truth is, this belief, that you must have everything figured out, is actually the source of your anxiety. Life was never meant to be a solved puzzle. It's more like a river, and rivers don't need maps. They need flow. The tighter you grip onto the need to know, the more you resist the current. And the more you resist, the more you suffer. Wisdom doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from letting go of the need to control it. Buddhism doesn't ask you to master everything. It invites you to let go of needing to. Consider how often you demand clarity before you allow peace to settle in. I'll relax once I have everything figured out. But what if clarity doesn't come first? What if peace comes not from knowing, but from letting go of the need for clarity? Here's the relief in that realization. You don't need to know what's next. You don't need a 5-year plan, a guaranteed outcome, or the perfect answer. What you need is presence. You need faith in the flow. Uncertainty isn't a flaw in life. It's a feature. It's the space where possibility lives. When you stop filling that space with fear and just be with it, something shifts. You move from resistance to receptivity, from anxiety to awareness, from control to curiosity. And in that shift, life begins to unfold more naturally, more beautifully, because you're no longer in your own way. So ask yourself, are you chasing answers, or are you practicing presence? There's a big difference. One demands certainty before peace. The other finds peace in uncertainty. One leads to burnout, the other to freedom. The mind always wants to wrap everything up into neat conclusions. But wisdom doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from being okay with not knowing and walking forward anyway. As Zen wisdom says, let go or be dragged. And there is no better place to apply that than in your obsession with control. When you surrender the illusion that you need to figure it all out, you become free. Not passive, not indifferent, but fluid, like water, able to adapt, bend, and still arrive exactly where you need to be. That's not weakness. That's power. You don't need all the answers. What you need is trust. Trust in the path. Trust in yourself. Trust that even when things don't make sense, they are unfolding with purpose. And in that trust, you discover a kind of strength that certainty could never give you. Let the river carry you. You don't need to swim upstream anymore. The mind craves answers, but the soul seeks peace. And peace doesn't come from solving. It comes from surrender. It's not knowing that leads us to wisdom. It's embracing the not knowing. Each principle we've shared today is a doorway out of the storm. You were never meant to drown in anxiety, overthinking, or fear. You were meant to rise above it by choosing stillness over stress, action over obsession, and presence over perfection. These practices aren't just ideas, they are tools for liberation. Use them. Zen teaches us that the obstacle is not in the way. The obstacle is the way. Worry is your greatest teacher if you dare to observe it, question it, and walk past it. By letting go, pausing, and being fully present, you will find a peace that has always been there beneath the noise. You don't need to control everything to live well. You just need to stop being